Welcome to Our Drummers Musicians, your backstage pass to Melbourne's vibrant music scene. Recorded on a cosy couch in Brunswick, join us as we explore what it truly means to be a musician and speak to the diverse talents that make music in our city. Today on the podcast, I'm here with Holly Moore, a Melbourne-based saxophonist, composer and educator who's making waves in the Australian jazz scene. Holly's debut release, Reunion, was launched in November of 2023 through the ABC Jazz Composer Commission and showcases her talent and vision in contemporary jazz. Holly performed with the Australian Art Orchestra at the 2023 Melbourne International Jazz Festival, where she premiered new work for Raw Denshi. Her career has been marked by significant achievements, including being the recipient of the Melbourne International Jazz Festival's Take Note program in 2020. This honour led her to compose a new suite of music and perform it with the Jazz Sextet during the festival's digital event, These Digital Times. Her performance credits include appearances at the Melbourne International Jazz Festival, the Melbourne Women's International Jazz Festival, the NGV's Summer Series at M-Pavilion, and Melbourne Music Week, alongside regular gigs at jazz venues around town. Committed to music education, Holly developed a series of online jazz workshops for Victorian high schools during Melbourne's second lockdown in 2020. She holds a Bachelor of Arts from Monash Uni, an honours degree from the Victorian College of the Arts, and a graduate diploma in Arts and Community Engagement from the VCA. Join us as we delve into Holly's musical journey, explore the stories behind her compositions, and discuss her contributions to shaping the future of jazz in Australia. We want to take a moment to acknowledge the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation as the traditional custodians of the land on which this podcast was recorded. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present. Hey Holly.
Hey Luke.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome.
It's good to see you.
Likewise. I was wondering if you're much of like a full album listener or someone who's more into like singles or playlists or I don't know, you still have like an iPod Shuffle or something.
I still have an iPod Classic.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I just get it out for plane trips.
Nice.
Yep. No, I'm definitely an album listener.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm not really a playlist gal, but I like to listen through albums and then I tend to, like have my favorites and go back to some tunes and stuff. So I'm not like always listening to full albums at one time, but that's, I guess, how I like to like start listening to something new.
Yeah, cool. I'm a massive album fan. So it's nice I feel like most people aren't really into that experience as much anymore. And it's nice just to, I don't know, there's something about the full album listen that, I don't know, I really like.
It's really good. Yeah. I mean, I think the musician has intended it to be that way. For the most part, people are writing, on certain themes and like the whole album has a flow. A lot of the time, unless people are just like releasing singles and all that kind of thing, like that's the intention of the music. So it's kind of nice to listen to it in that way.
What's the most recent album that you listened to?
Ooh. This past week, I've been really obsessed with a Joel Ross album, who's a vibraphonist.
Oh, cool.
In America. It's called The Parable of the Poet.
Ooh.
A very romantic name. Yeah, but it's a really good album. I hadn't listened to it. It's a couple years old. Mm-hmm. He's got a record deal with Blue Note.
Okay.
Record, pretty cool. He's got like 3 albums out, I think it is. And this is his second one, I'm fairly sure. And I've been loving it. I just found it the other week. It's like vibraphone, piano, bass, drums, alto saxophone, tenor saxophone, trombone, trumpet.
Wow.
Quite a large ensemble.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the compositions are like so beautiful and all the players are great. Yeah, it's really good.
It's like a contemporary jazz sound?
Yeah, contemporary jazz, I'd say.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really
check it out.
Yeah, it's really good. I highly recommend.
I was wondering about like, I don't know, how you see yourself now, because I haven't crossed paths with you for years, but I see, you're constantly playing and working hard and writing tunes and, you're doing some really awesome stuff. But do you still see yourself in the, like, I'm a jazz saxophone player? Or is, like, the way that you see music, like, evolving to, something more than just, like, a pigeonhole? Because it seems that, like, whilst you are, like, playing jazz gigs, the, like, compositions and stuff you're doing definitely seem to be, like, really, like, developing the music rather than, I don't know, staying with the, like, older music that we studied or something when we were at uni.
Yeah. I don't really know how. I guess it's, like, quite easy just to describe myself as, like, oh, I'm a jazz saxophonist. Like, but, I don't know, maybe I'd think of myself more as, like, a improviser. Because, yeah, I'm not playing, like, straight ahead traditional music that much. And it's definitely not the music I write. So whilst I guess I am in that world a lot, I wouldn't want to be like, yes, I'm 100% a jazz musician. Doesn't really seem like totally authentic. Yeah. And, I'm also a white Australian woman, pretty separated from the roots of the music, So I think, like, new music, improvised music is probably more where I see myself.
Yeah, how much does, like, your identity of that flow into the music that you do make?
Of, like, jazz or?
Yeah.
I think it's, like, it's my basis. I guess, like, we studied together. It's, like, the training we had. And I'd say, like, the majority of music I listen to is broadly, like, in the jazz world. So it informs a lot of, like, what I'm doing, what I'm writing and stuff, what I'm practicing, but it's not the only thing I'm thinking about or listening to,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, not becoming Wynton Marsalis and, the museum music approach.
Yeah. Though, I wouldn't hate that. He's really good.
Yeah.
Like, I actually saw he wrote a concerto for, like, a big band and orchestra and came out last year and played it. And, people say a lot of stuff about him, but I was blown away. I was like, man, this man can really, he's such a good trumpet player, like, incredible. And this whole suite was, like, amazing. He'd written for a whole orchestra, a whole big band, and it was just like, damn.
I was listening to his first album yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
So my brother-in-law Leroy brings over records, like, once a week or fortnight.
Yeah.
And we just listen for, like, an hour or two. And he has, like, an incredibly, like, niche collection of jazz records.
Right.
And he always comes with, like, stories about, like, oh, this is this thing I found, or this record was only released in Japan, but, like, you won't believe who's playing on it and stuff. Wow. And so yesterday he brought over Wynton's first album, which is this, like, I don't know if you know it, but I can't remember what it's
What's
called.
It called?
But he was, like, 19, and it's with, like, Herbie on keys and
cool.
Tony Williams on drums and Ron Carter on bass. And it sounds like a bit of a throwback to, like, Miles's band in the 60s, but it's recorded in the 80s, and it was so, like, edgy and, like, amazing.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, like, I would have loved him to keep making music along that line.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, he's got all the technical chops and the ability and stuff, and I was like, oh, wow, that's, like, it sounds like a completely different person to, like, the guy who's making music now.
Yeah. Oh, that's really cool. I'll have to check it out. I don't think I've heard that record.
Yeah, I'll figure out what the name is and I'll send you a message.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, or come round to one of our, like, listening
sessions. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah.
Well, Holly, how did you get started with your music journey? Was it always saxophone for you when you were, like, a little kid that was like, oh, yes, this resonates with me?
Well, kind of. I mean, I started playing piano when I was like 4 or 5. Oh no, it must have been in like prep, so like 5 years old. And there was a piano in my family's house, but no one's a musician or anything.
Okay.
Like my mum, like, you know, learned at school and stuff. And I just like really wanted to play. Like since I was little, I was like banging my hands on it and stuff, and I just had a real affinity to it. And so then I started getting lessons, and then I went to a great primary school that had a really great band program. And yeah, it was like 4 primary schools were connected, and we had all these huge concerts together. And in grade 3, you could start learning like a brass or woodwind instrument. And I don't know what it was, from like maybe the age of 6 or 7, I had seen a busker down at South Bank, like when I was in the city with my family, and I was a saxophone player.
Wow.
And I was like, I need to play saxophone. And so I was like hanging out till I got to grade 3 and got to put in like my instrument preferences and got saxophone, and yeah, was very happy.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've been playing alto saxophone since I was 8.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Yeah. And I actually think Julian Wilson, who's, you know, Australia's like most amazing saxophone player in my eyes, I know that I'd heard that he busked a lot near South Bank in the 90s.
Oh.
And in my mind, I don't know who it was, but in my mind, I'm like, it's quite a nice story that it was Jules that I saw like busking outside of Hamer Hall or something like that.
Yeah.
But I could be totally wrong with that information. That's just what I've heard. But yeah, that's how I came to saxophone.
that's a really cool story. What school did you go to? Do you mind sharing what this like?
Yeah,
amalgamation
it's actually
thing was?
just down the road, Moonee Ponds West Primary School.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and it was like Moonee Valley Schools, Ascot Vale, Moonee Ponds, and we had big concerts at the Moonee Valley Racecourse.
Wow.
Yep, that I think the parents like absolutely hated because they went for like 4 hours.
Classic. Yeah.
Yeah, all primary school kids, and
I guess and 4 schools too.
yeah, 4 schools,
4 times as long.
and like most people played an instrument, so it was just like, you know, they really were troopers to get through those concerts. But I had a band teacher who is a bass player called John Chichi.
Okay.
And he like wrote all this music for us to play. So we weren't playing out of the American band books like Essential Elements or whatever, which are so dry and stuff. He wrote all these like really fun pieces for us to play that had like very interactive for kids, you know, about animals and stuff. And we'd be like whacking our feet and clapping our hands. And like I remember he got us improvising in maybe like grade 6 or something. He was like, these are the notes. It was like a pentatonic scale. And let's just like do this. Whoever wants to do this, come in at lunchtime and we're going to play and everything. And yeah, it was a really, really amazing like start.
Yeah.
And yeah, band program for like a public school, and yeah.
Yeah, how special. Yeah, to like not just to have like a passionate teacher, but one that's like writing it to get you like you know, even more involved and stuff.
Yeah, I actually
awesome.
have like the book he made us all once we were in grade 6 and, you know, finishing primary school. He like bound a lot of the music that we played, and it was called like Band Buddy.
Cool.
And I still have it in
That's
my music
awesome.
room. Yeah. Yeah, because it was really special. Like, I don't think I really realized, or like, you know, it's all I knew then. But, you know, after, you know, going to high school and now teaching myself, I'm like, oh, that was actually really, really cool. You know, happening in like the early 2000s. Yeah. In the western suburbs.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember I had a great music teacher, but his pull to get students into like the choir was that he would core apples for you with a spiral like apple machine. If you remember that old thing.
Yeah.
And so
That's a strange.
yeah. I feel like not as like musically inspiring.
Yeah.
But it definitely filled the
something.
choir because all the kids wanted the apples like
Right.
in that spiral. Like
I mean, it's pretty cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know, not quite the same. So I imagine if it's like a school band program, it's more like the concert band thing rather than like a jazz band.
Yeah.
Were you into jazz music, outside of that whilst you're still in primary school, or did that come later?
No, that came later for sure. Like, I guess, like he got us doing a little bit of improv, so we had like some small group thing. We must have done a performance or something. It came later. Like, I went to like public high school that didn't have a strong music program, so I was kind of like, ooh, a little bit different. I went into like the senior band in year 7.
Right.
It was that kind of situation. And, I kind of just like plodded along. In high school, I started realizing that like saxophone was more my thing than piano. I was still like taking piano lessons and doing piano exams and everything at the time. Doing very badly on my piano exams. And I was like, well, this isn't really adding up. So after, like a few years in high school, I was like, okay, saxophone's kind of the thing. But I still wasn't really like listening to music that had any saxophone in it, or like I hadn't really connected what I was doing, like playing, to what I was listening to and everything like that. But eventually I got like a classical saxophone teacher outside of school, and he started showing me some other music, and I actually, before coming to like kind of straight ahead jazz, he showed me Jan Garbarek, who's like a Norwegian saxophone player, very like ECM jazz. So that was kind of like my gateway into jazz, which is a little different, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started listening to that and got really into it, and then I did this program in high school, which was where it was like a winter jazz school where teachers from the Juilliard School in New York came over to Australia and like did a week-long camp in Melbourne at Melbourne Uni.
Wow.
It was so amazing. There was like a lot of people we studied with that were part of it who were like there's like, it only went on for a few years, but
yeah, right. That sounds awesome.
Oh, it was like the best. It completely changed my life. Like because I went to a high school that wasn't like very strong musically, and I was like doing pretty well, but I had nothing to base. There was no one else. Like, there were a few people who were really into music, but there weren't that many people and everything. And yeah, I just like found this program and was like, oh, I'll apply and stuff. And the teachers at school were like, all right, let's get a tape together. Like, stay after school. Like, they get those little Zoom recorders out and really helped me. They're like, oh, okay, so this is the blues. Like, this is, what you're doing. Yeah, and it was like all these kids from like VCAS and nice private schools who were at the camp. And yeah, these like incredible musicians from America, and it was really inspiring.
Wow.
Yeah, and lots of people I'm like really close with now and play with all the time, who I met then. Yeah.
That's so cool. I don't know about this program, so I don't know if I just didn't know or it had stopped by the time I came through.
Maybe. Yeah, it was called the Juilliard Winter Jazz School.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool. Yeah, I did it for 2 years. So I did it in year 11 and 12, and then I think it went on for maybe 2 more years afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the best.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what happened after that? Like, were you feeling just so inspired that it sort of just like, I don't know, lit like the next level of fire to go like, all right, this is really what I want to do?
Pretty
Or
much.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I already knew that I wanted to be doing music. I just wasn't super, super focused. Like, I was learning from a great classical saxophonist, but it's like, you know, classical saxophone.
Yeah, yeah.
Bit of an oxymoron.
We had there was a student at my high school, Frank Canigliaro, and he got a perfect score for classical saxophone on the tenor for like VCE music.
Wow.
And yeah, it was an extreme rarity.
It sounds like
It's so niche.
I mean, that's impressive, I have to say.
Yeah, well, he was an amazing player, and now he's a doctor, and you know,
Yeah,
I don't know if he even touches the saxophone anymore. But
That's a bit sad.
yeah, but it was very much like, I'm doing this because, you know, I like playing music and I'm playing, but he wasn't thinking like, I want to be an orchestral or soloist classical saxophonist.
Yeah.
Were you thinking that's what you wanted?
No, like, I really was not at all. But I just didn't have like that much direction. You know, like, I was doing AMB exams and I was like starting to get like higher levels, and I was like, okay, this is the thing that I really like doing, and I'm not the worst at, you know. I was getting really into Jan Garbarek and stuff, so I kind of knew like, okay, music is what I'm doing, but I was like doing well in, you know, academic things as well. But then going to this like Juilliard Winter Jazz Camp, I was like, okay, this is 100% like what I'm going to be doing, like no doubt in my mind. My mum still says to me that she's like, yep, when I picked you up at the end of the first week, like I could see there was just like something had changed. And yeah. Then I was like, yeah, this is what, gonna have to learn some 2-5-1s. You know?
Yeah. Wow. So was it through like meeting, you know, the other friends and stuff that you were like, okay, so like I want to go study tertiary music, or, you know, was that something that like your school said, all right, like if you're getting passionate about this, you should go to university and, you know, keep studying?
Oh, I kind of just like knew that that's what I wanted to do.
Okay.
Yeah. I think my school said that I would be like a good like nursing home. You know, you do those tests and they're like, oh, you're going to be really good like working in a nursing home, or you're going to be a doctor, or you're going to be this. Like, I was just completely off, like very strange.
Okay.
Right. So like they weren't really telling me that it was going to be a good career to pursue.
Yes.
You know. But yeah, I just kind of like knew like, okay, like I'm going to study at uni, and then meeting other people in Melbourne, like was kind of, you know, I got to uni and I already knew people there, even though I didn't go to school with anyone that was like going to study the same thing. Yeah, so I kind of like already had a small community from those camps and stuff. Yeah.
So what was it like, you know, going from the well, you studied at like Monash and did your honours at the VCA, but like the transition from like a student who's making music and, you know, starting to connect with the professional world to now where you're your own artist, you know, writing your own music and running bands and playing for other people, rather than the, you know, the pseudo world of like you're a uni student, so you sometimes get asked to play with like a lecturer or like in their band, or like, you know, just doing uni bands. What was that transition like to, you know, professional musician, I suppose?
I don't know, like, I guess, yeah, I finished at Monash and I was just playing with some friends and stuff, like nothing too much. And then I did honours, and then after honours, I actually moved to New York for like a year and a half. And I think that was kind of the time where I went from being like uni student, and then I went to America for that year, and I just like listened a lot, I was like so scared. I like hardly played at all, but I just like was going to gigs every night and listening, and I feel like I learnt more in that year than at uni, to be honest. But yeah, when I came back after that, that's when I feel like I kind of started just being less afraid to, you know, book my own things. And like, I mean, I really wasn't getting booked for much, and I came back from New York and was like, I just need to do it myself until, you know, I start getting booked for other things. So I just like started writing my own music. I mean, I'd already been writing, but I started like really working on that, and got the take note thing with the jazz festival, which really helped a lot. And yeah, so I see kind of like what I'm doing now all kind of started from, coming back from New York, and like I got to take notes straight after that. And things kind of started happening after that. Yeah.
Yeah. What was that experience like, doing the take note? Like,
it was cool. I mean, it was in lockdown, so
yeah, like mixed feelings. I feel like, you know, because it was the digital festival, and like, so it's not quite the same, but I don't know, it's still like a big honor to get asked to do it.
Yeah. It was really great. Like, I think it would be even better to do it in, like, to present the work that you've been developing in person. But it is cool that I've got like a recording of what I did and everything. So, you know, that's good. Yeah, it was really special. I felt really lucky. Like, the first person that did it was a good friend, Claire Cross, who's a bass player. And so I felt, like really honoured to be able to do it after her, and like she kind of like helped me along while I was doing it. There was a lot involved because it has like an educational side as well. But I guess on the writing side, being in lockdowns and everything, trying to focus on like producing this like suite of music, it actually really helped me get through the lockdowns because I had something to do, and I had a goal and like an end date, which was really helpful just to like keep my sanity, you know. Yeah. Well,
you've done like a couple of commissions. What's it like when you're, you know, commissioned to do a work rather than just, you know, writing music for yourself, I suppose? Does it feel very different for you?
It makes me do it. Like, I mean, I write without it, but I definitely work well with a deadline. So I'm much more productive when I have something like that, like take note, or like the ABC recording I did last year. I do much better with that. And I guess, you know, when you apply for a commission or something like that, you have to give like a framework of what your idea is going to be about. And so I guess because I've already set that framework, and it's like, okay, I got this commission, which obviously I feel like super grateful for and everything, but I have this framework that I need to work within, or, you know, even time frame. So it kind of helps. It's not just like, oh, I've got to write this thing and it could be anything. It's like, okay, I know it's going to be this instrumentation and it needs to go for this long, and this is like the themes that I'm working with. I find it really helps me.
How detailed is like the concept that you put forward when you've applied for these ones?
I mean, not like super detailed. It's just more like the themes that I'm kind of thinking about at the time, like, and then, you know, I've got the instrumentation, like I put that in the proposal or whatever it is, you know. So yeah, it's not like I don't know, like exactly how many pieces I'm going to do or like that, but I've got like a vague idea of like an arc and stuff like that, like a story.
Okay. Yeah, I've never done it, so I don't know what the like application process is, I suppose. So do you put any music like notation forward, or is it like purely conceptual?
It's conceptual, but like you put forward some previous work.
Okay.
So I think for both of them I had to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So like a few like recordings, like, or just of gigs even, you know, like I think I've sent stuff in that's just been on my phone, of like how you play and also like your own compositions and everything. So they've got like an idea of how you sound and everything. Yeah.
We've got quite a range of like different styles of musicians and stuff on the podcast. How would you describe like your compositions and the way that you work with like the improvisational element of it as well, as opposed to like a couple of the classical musicians or composers we've had on where, you know, they're writing everything. What's your I don't know, process or like involvement of the improvisational element when you're actually doing the composition yourself?
Yeah, I guess like coming back to like, or do you think of yourself as a jazz musician or something? The way I write, I think, is very much like a jazz, like straight ahead kind of charts. I would write, you know, so I'm writing like chord changes, form, melody, or the head, the main like melodic idea. And then for the most part would be like, improvising within that framework of chords and everything. So most of my tunes are like lead sheet kind of things.
Yep. Yeah, cool. Oh, thanks for sharing. It's just like, I don't know. I can't remember who else we had on that we were talking about it. Oh, I think we had Ellie Lamb on. And they were talking about like some through compositions and stuff rather than like a head and solos vibe. And it's nice just to be able to, I don't know, get into what it is that, you know, you give your bands and stuff like that. Yeah,
that's like the majority. I guess that's how I like to play, you know. It's like coming back to playing standards and everything is like, this is the idea, do your thing. I mean, not all of my tunes are like that, but a lot of them are like, lead sheet kind of vibe.
Well, how do you go about picking the musicians that you play with?
People that'll play with me. No, I'm kidding. I mean, I like to play music with people who I like listening to, obviously, you know, and also people that I get along with. So I think like being friends or, you know, good acquaintances helps when you're playing, like especially bringing new music to people. It's quite scary, you know, like, and a lot of the time, like on a first rehearsal or something, you're going to be writing stuff in and it's like, oh, that's a bad chord. Oh, I should have written that way. You know, I'm a saxophone player, so a lot of the way I write chords, chordal instruments, they're like, Holly, what's this chord? This should be written as this or something like that. You know, like they really like see chords in a different way. And so a lot of the time the charts will change and adapt as we play through things. So picking people to play, like I want to feel comfortable with them. And yeah, like on the last few projects I've done, I've had the same drummer, Luke and Jason, who studied with. Yeah, and like really work well together. Like he loves to like sit down and like listen back to things and analyze things, and it's really nice to like play with someone in different scenarios who like we can really like sit down, like talk about the music, and it's not it's like a safe space. It helps a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's pretty personal, like sharing your compositions, I feel. Like, it's often like just something you're working on when you're saying it, like, oh, like maybe I didn't write it in the exact right way for that instrumentation or something, or even just like the music is personal. So like sharing the like rawness of something that's new, I feel like, yeah, the like safe space or supportive musicians or people that you're just comfortable talking about it with and playing it, like, it does make a big difference.
Yeah, it does. And like I actually had this recently with like 2 different bands. I took the same tune in and people had the same issue with the same chord.
Okay.
That I'd like written in. They're like, this chord is not really a go. And I was like, I know. And like worked through it in the first rehearsal with this like one group. People were like, okay, what about this chord? Okay, it kind of has like a similar sound. What about this chord? Blah, blah, blah. Maybe you could write it like this. And then we went through like different options, and by the end of it, it was like, oh, maybe what you'd written actually works.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. Because usually I would just like be like, oh, okay, whatever you want, to the chordal player. Anyway, so that was like interesting. Like, and we really went through like different options and everything. And then I went into this other rehearsal and had the same thing with this chord. And I felt like I could say, you know what? I know it looks weird. I know it's different. Just play it. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
I know maybe that's not how you'd write it, but, so I think, being a band leader and rehearsing and stuff is really hard, and it's a skill that I'm like, feel like I'm only just like starting to like understand, like, okay, how do I take a rehearsal? How do I do this and whatever? But it is cool to see, like, a few years ago, I would have just totally like folded and been like, you're right. That's shit. Like, change the chord. So.
Do you mind sharing what this elusive chord is?
Oh, it's not even, it was like a major 7th chord, but with a sharp 9 in it, but it was just like within the other chords. They were like, oh, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, interesting.
And it's like weird to write the sharp 9 within this. I don't know.
Have you recorded the tune?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, I have to come and see it played live.
Yeah, you'll have to come to a gig.
What's the tune called?
It's called Sugar Hill.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, for everybody listening along. And if you're not playing it, I'll request it, like special request from the audience.
Just that,
play
like
Sugar
A
Hill.
section.
Yeah, okay, sure. Just the A section of Sugar Hill, please.
Yeah.
All right, sick.
Yeah, maybe I'm making it out to be more than it is, but yeah, it was like the last few rehearsals, I'm like, oh, okay, this is interesting to note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great, though, that you're, like, growing in the confidence, because clearly you're, like, going for a sound and you know what that is. And, like, of course, like, people's tastes or, like, theoretical knowledge might, like, come in and cloud it a bit. But it's great that you could be like, all right, well, I fully explored this thing now with the chord player. So, like, I really know this is the sound I want. And then you can just go, yeah, play this, please. And
yeah.
Really good.
It felt good. Yeah.
Do you enjoy the, like, band leader experience versus, like, side person role where you, like, you're just getting asked to play a gig for somebody else and it's not your tunes and it's not your band?
No, I would much prefer to be a side person.
Okay.
Like, it's so stressful, Like, it's so stressful. You've got to organise so much, like, outside of the music, just in terms of, like, booking stuff. It's not like I'm playing heaps and heaps of gigs or anything, but just, like, trying to get people to see a jazz gig where you're not, like, the Aussie jazz famous person. It's like, how do you get someone to your gig? It's, like, a lot of pressure. And then, you want to pay people for their time and make sure there's a good turnout so it's worthwhile for the musicians and everything. And then, like, I don't know, just so much organization. It's great, and I love playing my music, and I feel really lucky that I can, but I love being a side person.
Yeah. I like it, that like the weight of responsibility and like the admin tasks and like needing to be a publicist. It's all the like the hidden features of being like an artist.
Yeah. I mean, with the podcast.
Oh, yeah, it's a nightmare.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I can't even imagine. But yeah, it's like there are so many other skills that you need. And it's taken me so long to be like, oh, okay, I need to be doing this. I need to be doing that. You got to stay on top of like your emails and blah, blah, blah. But it's like a lot of other skills than just like being a good instrumentalist. Yeah.
I remember maybe first or second year uni, it just like hit me. I was like, I need a PA. Like I would have so many more hours in the day to practice if I had somebody answering emails and booking the gigs and responding to invoices or invoicing other people. Like just all of the, and like scheduling, just sitting down to go through the diary. It's like, oh, I'm losing hours in my day to this.
Absolutely.
It's not developing my skills.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it helped me with like time management and some admin, but it didn't really help me as a musician in any way, and no one was really talking about it in like meaningful ways in my education.
I think it's like really negligent actually to like have all these people, anyone that's going into university and is studying music, like they're a particular kind of person. Like everyone's really wants to be there if you're studying music, and if you're not setting them up with skills of how to actually do that successfully, then like, I don't know, it's pretty rough. Especially, living in Australia, it's not like being an artist is easy. Not that it's easy anywhere, but there's not that much funding. It's pretty hard to like make ends meet, and not like setting students up with, okay, these are like things that you are going to have to do as a musician or as a band leader or as a whatever. Kind of, yeah. I guess you just like figure it out along the way, but it would be cool for that to be included in jazz school.
Do you broach any of that stuff with your students, like as like a foreshadowing of like there's more than just the scales, or do you keep it like still pretty musical?
Well, I guess I only broach it if they're actually, I don't know, like keen on doing this, as a thing. I teach in high school, so I have had like a handful of students who are pretty keen beans, and I kind of let them know like, these are the skills that are needed as a musician and stuff, but not like on the regular. Yeah, I found I stopped teaching because teaching doesn't resonate for me, but I had students for a long time, and I found it really hard. I felt very conflicted about like, oh, like we're just here to like play drums and have fun. But also but if someone's like taking it seriously, I have to be like, this is like really hard, and like here's all like the practical stuff that like no one had told me. Oh, totally. Yeah, and I think it's like just seeing it like case by case basis. Like if there is someone that is, that mad type of person that also wants to do this, like being like, like then I like really get serious. I'm like, okay, this is not like, I'm not messing around now. Like let's like get serious. But if they are, like they're doing it at school because it's, something that they've been told to do or they really like, but they're not going to pursue it afterwards, it's just like a bit of fun.
Yeah.
But for the keen ones, you kind of have to give them a heads up.
Well, we've been playing this game on the podcast where I get questions from previous guests for the next future guest.
Okay.
So I've got a question for you from another Monash alumni.
Oh, who's it from? Oh, should I guess who it's from?
Oh, yeah, you can guess who it's from too.
Would I know them?
You should.
Well, you've already told me that Ellie's been on
Yeah, but it's not.
Okay,
It's
okay.
not them.
When was it that a vocalist really, really captured your attention and got the tune? They just sat in the tune so well. Because I feel like that's a hard thing to do. Melbourne-based. I look forward to your answer.
Done.
That is the end of the question.
Okay, cool.
Yes. Sorry, there was a big pause in the
It
middle.
was a bit of a pause.
Yeah.
Is that Amelia?
No, it's Dom Gerard.
Oh.
Yes.
Cool. I haven't heard her name in ages either.
No, not
So
in the jazz
many-
sphere anymore.
So many
but
great people
Oh,
that
yeah.
we studied with, hey.
Absolutely killing
Yeah.
it. Like, you know, you're in the jazz scene. Dom's in the like indie scene.
Yeah,
It's,
she's been like killing it for ages, hey.
Yeah.
Like ages.
Yeah, with their band like NYCK.
Yeah,
and she's just
yeah.
launched a new band, Mutual Colour. And
Oh, cool.
she also sings with Zombeaches. Like a sort of punk rock band. Like it's
Oh, cool.
yeah. I don't
Wow.
know. People have done so many different things.
Yeah.
All just from, you know, a small music degree.
Yeah.
The world is open.
Okay. So I'm answering the question.
Yeah, if you could please answer the question. Would you like to hear it again?
I think I've got it.
Cool.
I've got it. I thought of something straight away, so I'm like,
Oh, yeah, awesome.
and kind of Melbourne, kind of not. So I don't know, maybe, but someone we studied with, one of my really, really good friends, Olivia Kindamo, who may have been there before you were there, I think. But,
Yeah.
who is an amazing vocalist who lives in New York now, which is the part of the question that I'm, slightly off. But she's been here the last few weeks, and she played a gig on Saturday night at the Recital Centre with Matthew Sheens, who's an Aussie pianist who also lives in New York. Duo gig. And her storytelling was out of this world. Like, I haven't heard her play maybe in a few years. And maybe I'm biased because, she's a very good friend. But she sung a tune. I don't know if it's called Manhattan or... Anyway, it's about Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me feel all the feels. I miss New York so much. She is such an amazing storyteller, and she was just completely captivated the audience. I think everyone. It was just so good. So Olivia Kindamo. Yep.
That's
and
awesome.
They have an album coming out soon. Wow.
Oh
my God.
hey.
I'm good at promotion for someone else.
Nice.
Check it out. Yeah.
All right. Well, what question would you like to ask our next guest?
Oh, geez. Okay. Okay, not as deep. What's your favorite note on your instrument?
Oh, yeah.
That's not very...
Can I put the question back onto
very
you?
Shallow.
Is that because you have one? There's...
Yeah, I mean, doesn't everyone? Maybe,
I don't have one.
Oh. Maybe that's a bad question then.
No, it's
I
not a
love
bad
F
question.
sharp. F sharp. So good on saxophone. Feels great. Lovely, lovely note. Yep.
Concert F sharp? Or...
Concert A.
Okay.
Yep.
The tuning note.
Well, it's there for a reason.
Oh, I guess jazz bands tune to B flat rather than...
If they tune.
Yeah. Well, what are you most excited about in the Australian jazz scene?
That sounded so negative, that silence. Sorry.
I can cut the silence if you really want. But no, it's fair. I also just I threw you a big question before we wrap up, but I was just I'd like to know what you're thinking and how you feel about it.
Well, I feel good about it, I think there are so many amazing young musicians coming out at the moment. I think there are so many women that are playing now, more so than even when we were studying. There seem to be so many more studying, which is so beautiful to see. And I just think people are really, writing their own music, putting different bands together, different configurations. A great saxophone player, Flora Carbo, I saw, you know, she's just released an album, and it's alto saxophone, double bass, and voice. Like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a lot of like different configurations and new music being made, and it seems like people aren't scared to do something different, and, you know, really breaking away from jazz, like big jazz, and like really leaning into like new improvised music, and that it doesn't have to have a certain structure or formation of instruments and stuff. And yeah, it's just cool to hear people doing so many different things.
All right, well, I'll finish with the 5 quick questions.
Cool.
What is your favourite venue to play in Melbourne?
Oh, the Jazz Lab, definitely. Yeah.
What's your dream venue to play at?
Oh, in Melbourne?
It can be, it's your dream.
Oh, okay. Maybe Melbourne, like, I'd love to play at the Recital Centre. And let's go jazzy cliche and say the Village Vanguard. Stop. Okay, anyway, next question.
What is your coffee order?
Oh, a long black. Such a cliche. Wow.
But one of the few real coffees, like, of the guests.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's taken an interesting turn to, like...
What kind of...
Most people don't drink just coffee.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably good for them, I guess, but I have, quite a few a day. Yeah.
Oh, like how many?
I would say, like, I wouldn't, like, 3, like 2 or 3 coffees a day.
Oh.
It's not, like, too much, but, like, you know, like, I'm short. Come on.
Oh, that's true,
Like-
but it's not Aaron Sirianen.
Right.
Like,
How does he...
well, it was like 8 by 10 a.m. or something when we were at uni.
Oh, that's cooked.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But people that are like, oh, I have 1 coffee at 10 a.m. I'm like, can't relate. But that's I would say detrimental
Okay.
to 8.
He slowed down a little.
He played pretty fast though, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe I should try that.
Yeah, Aaron's on the podcast a couple episodes ago.
Oh,
So,
cool.
yeah, it was nice to check in and hear about all the cool stuff he's doing.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear about all these people that we were around like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like everyone's episode come out.
It's a nice
exciting.
little collection of
Yeah,
stories and people.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Well, what is your favourite place to get food after a gig in Melbourne?
Oh, look, I'm going to be boring and say I make toast at home usually.
Oh. No, not boring, insightful. What do you put on the toast?
Butter, usually a big slab of cheese,
Okay.
and like a pickle or something.
Oh, that's not boring at all. That's unique.
I mean, sometimes it's just butter, but you know, if the fridge is stocked.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. And finally, what's one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self?
Ooh. This is something I do tell my students, and I would scream it at myself if I saw it. Like in a kind way, but like just bloody practice. Yeah. You do not have as much time later in life as you do when you're like 15. Oh my God. Just practice.
Well, thank you so much, Holly, for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
If people are now suddenly and, optimistically inspired about coming regularly to see you play because they're like, yes, we want to get out there to support, Holly and her music making. Or they want to commission you for, compositions or get lessons or just, check out your music. What's the best way for them to get in contact?
Instagram is pretty good.
Yep.
Holly Moore. Yep. And my website and stuff, but it's all just, Holly Moore Music or Holly Moore.
Cool. I'll put it in the podcast notes
Show
on the
notes.
website. Yeah, so people can
Thanks.
click through.
Oh, yeah. There'll be lots of clicks.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully.
No, well,
One.
we'll see. The podcast's getting relatively good attention for the start, so
Yeah, that's
it
it looks really good.
and lots of locals. So I feel like you're playing regularly at Jazz Lab. It's a great place to play.
It's a good room.
Yeah. So hopefully lots more traffic.
That'd be nice.
Thanks so much, Ollie. This has been fun.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us on Our Drummers Musicians. I hope you enjoyed getting to know another Melbourne muso like I did. Help us grow by leaving a review, share the podcast with friends and family, and subscribe on our website for extra info. Got a guest you'd love to hear on the show? Please let us know at ourdrummersmusicians.com. See you next time.